All right. So, hope everybody is doing okay. We're going to continue with our lesson on database management. And we have so far, through the use of the slides, we've created a database called My Album DB. And in that database, um, we have these our four tables. Again, just a refresher, to start up your MySQL server, the command is MySQL-u root-p, and then you'll enter your password, whatever your password is, to get your server running, and then your MySQL server will show up. And also, uh, some of the commands that we've learned so far, uh, some basic commands: show, so I can say like show databases. Now list the databases. Also, I can say show tables, and don't forget your semicolon. If I type show tables, I'm already in my album DB database. But when I say show tables, there's the tables that we have: created, album, artist, band, and label. I could also describe or get a description of them by typing DESC. So I could say DESC band, and there the band table will display. So that's what we that's the basic commands. We also looked at the create method in CRUD. So we have the CRUD method, the create or C. That is how we create a database. Also, how we enter data into the database. So we have our schema.sql file. And in this file, again, this is where we create the tables, we create the database. Um, we list all the different fields that we have, any constraints, basically how the database and the tables within it are structured. Also, we looked at how we can make changes if we need to alter the table, like so. Maybe we need to add a column, as we did here with the date created last update, or if we need to modify a column, like say maybe we need to change what kind of data type that we need, or whether this field will can it contain null values or not. So all of that is done here using the alter command. And then we looked at in our data SQL file about how we can insert data into a table. And so we know we say insert into, and then whatever table, and then parentheses, what fields that we want to fill out. And then we have the values, and the values are separated by parentheses. And within each value, they're separated by the data separated by commas. And so that's what we have. And right now we have a working database so far, and now we're ready to look at how we can get data from the database. Okay, because we store data in there now. How can we uh, get data out or retrieve it? And that's what the R is in CRUD, retrieving. So let's look at the slides. To retrieve data from our database, we need to write a query. A query is simply a question. We ask the database for specific information, and if the question is successfully asked, we get a result. In SQL, there are 6 query clauses that are used to retrieve data from the database, and they are select, from, where, order by, group by, and having. So we use a mixture of these to retrieve data from the database. Select, from, where, order by, group by, and having. So let's get started. Select clause is the most basic one, okay? Um, so it selects the data that we want returned. and we couple it with the from clause rather. The from clause lists which table we want to choose from or tables. Okay, so let's start like this. Select star from album. Let's do that inside of our server. We're going to be living over here in our server right now. I don't think we're going to need our code from our editor as much. So let's say we're going to say select. Here, I got my prompt right here, my MySQL prompt. I'm saying select and then star my album, no, select star, and then I'm going to say, excuse me, from album, and then semicolon. Select star from album, and when I do that and hit enter, oh, look at that. There goes all my data from my database. Now you can see here inside of my terminal, you can see that it wraps the text, if you will. And that's just like the size of my font. If I went and changed the font size for this, then be able to see a little better. It'd be a little more readable, but then you wouldn't be able to read it through the video. You wouldn't be able to see my data, so I had to keep it at a certain font size. At any rate, here we have, when I said select star from album, there it gives me the album ID, the title, the artist ID, the band ID, label ID, year release, the date created, and last update. So all of that information is there. So you can kind of see. Matter of fact, I'm gonna change the font size. So just bear with me. Uno momento. I'm gonna change my font size. Where are you? Font size. Oh, right here. Change. I got it 24 right now. I'm gonna change it to 14. So I come back and it'll come over here and let me close my terminal. Let me exit out of this. Start my terminal back up. And see, it's really small right now. Difficult for you to see. MySQL -u root -p, and then my album DB. Okay. And we'll come back and do this again. Select star from album. And there you can see there's all my data right there. But I don't like it this size. It's very difficult to see. Trying to be mindful. But you can see how it's laid out. I wanted you to see this. So there's the album IDs. There's the title, artist ID, band ID, label ID, year released, date created, and last update. So you can see here, again, the timestamp lets us know at what day and time that this data was created, where this field was created, and also, or this entry was created rather, and then also the last time it was updated. So I just wanted you to see that. I'm going to change my font size back because that's no bueno.
So, Coach, if you have an error there, it's not going to show your. Do you do select album?
When you said select star from album.
Yeah, mine said no.
So if it, so then it would mean that no data was entered into the database. That's what that would mean. If nothing shows up, then there's nothing there. MySQL -u root -p, and what I do right here, I can, if I know which database I'm using, I can go ahead and type my which database I'm using right here. So I'll say MySQL -u root -p, and then my album DB. Hit enter. Oh, I did it wrong. I typed the see MySQL-u root -p, album DB. There we go. All right. Yeah, I just want to make that a little bit more readable. so you can see what it actually looks like. So come back over here, and we said what? Select star from album, and there we go. All right. So when you see when you press enter, you will see the entire album table with all of the data that we entered. Each column has its heading at the top. The album ID, date created, and last updated fields are filled in. Remember, we set those to be either automatically incremented or default to the current timestamp. So again, like when we entered in our data, we didn't have to specify album ID, right? We didn't have to say insert into album and then list the album ID. We didn't have to do that. All we had to do was put the rest of the data in there, like say the title, artist ID, band ID, label ID, year released, and it automatically created the album ID because we set that to be auto increment, and the default for date created and last update is current timestamp. All right. All right. Let's move on. The star symbol. So we said select star. That star means all. In other words, select all or everything from the album table. Okay, so whenever you use that star, that means you want to select everything from the entire table. You want to see it all. Notice that MySQL tells us how many rows or entities are in the set, as well as how fast it took to return the data. Down here at the bottom, you can see says 12 rows in the set. So it's 12 rows that we selected, and really almost instantly, that's how fast it retrieved it. Sometimes we don't want to retrieve everything, right? In most cases, we don't want to retrieve everything. We just want to retrieve certain things from a database. So we can specify what columns that we want to show up in the result. So here in this example, if I just wanted the title and the year released, I would specify those, okay? And the fields are comma separated. So if I just want the title and year release, I would say down here at the bottom, you can see select. I want title, comma, year underscore released. And I say from album. Don't forget your semicolon. Hit enter. And here we can see the title and the year released for each one of our albums that we listed. So you should be able to see that. Okay. So let's say I wanted to get select title, and I would want the artist underscore ID from album, if I spell album correctly. Oh, what did I do wrong? Unknown column artist ID in field list. There's an artist ID. Oh, but I didn't spell artist correctly. There's no artist ID. Artist. Select title, comma, artist underscore ID from album. And there we go. We have listed all the titles as well as the artist ID. And we see that we got 2, null, 3, 4, etc. We're going to see what we can do about that later on. But right now, again, just play around if you want to for a little bit. If you want to pause the video, you can. You can select all from band. There go all of our bands. You can play around with that if you want to, just to get comfortable with that. But when we say select title and your release from album, we see that the query returns the title of each album along with the year that it was released. We don't have to limit to the album ID we can set any filter that we desire. So we can say, hey, see, this is right. Yeah. Maybe I got my slides messed up. I don't know if we're gonna roll with it. Um, let's say we want to select an album, all the albums that were released in the year 2000. Okay. And sometimes we want to do that, right? As a user, think about, we're searching through you know, albums. We go to an album website, or we're like on a store or whatever. We're looking for a certain album, maybe on our whatever our streaming platform that we like to use. We want to select songs or albums from a particular year or particular range, whatever. But let's see how we can select by a certain year. We'll say, hey, give me all the albums that were in my database that are released in the year 2000. Let's do that. We can say select, what is it, title, and what else do we want to get? Year released from album. And I like to put this on another line, so I'm going to hit enter right here. I like to put my clauses on a separate line. So this is the where clause, where year underscore released is equal to 2000. I think I probably messed my slides up, but we're going to roll with this. So here I'm saying select title, year released from album, where year release is equal to 2000, and it lists Like Water for Chocolate, Mama's Gun. Those two albums were released in the year 2000. Oh, what a time that was. Oh, they took all my little college money. Yeah, I went to the store, and I remember specifically going and buying both of those albums, and they stayed heavy rotation. So anyway, let's get back to this. Because what I'm using here is the where clause, and I see, one of my slides, I must have accidentally deleted a slide, but it's okay. We're gonna roll with it. The where clause says, hey, let me select data by this constraint, if you will. Let's say I just wanted to get one item. Okay. If I only wanted one item from album, or if I only wanted one artist, okay, a particular one, how could I do that? I do that by using the where clause, and I would say where and then some kind of parameter, some kind of constraint. So I can say select, I'll say star from artist where, and I can say artist underscore ID is equal to 3. And when I hit enter, it pulls up. There you see the artist ID, whichever artist has an ID of 3. In this case, Miles Davis. And again, they created last update. So I can mix and match this stuff up if I wanted to. I can say, select, again, first name, L name from artist where artist underscore ID is equal to 6. And there you see it returns common right there. I didn't know. So the where clause that we use, it specifies, or kind of it makes more clear, if you will, what data that we want to select. So we're being a little more precise. That's the word I was looking for. Being a little more precise with the data that we want to select. So we don't have to select everything, right? So I don't have to say just select all from this table, nor could I, specify which fields. I can say which excuse me, individual entity or which row I want to select from. And I do that by using the where clause. Okay. And the last one we'll look in these slides is the and or clause. And with the and or clause, we can combine or union our filter. So we have here this example: select all from album where year released is equal to 2000 and artist ID is 1. So when I do that, we got, let's try that. Select all from album where year release is 2000 and artist ID is 1. If we come and look at the table, let's see, probably not gonna be able to tell. Let's just type it out. Select all from, was it select all? Yep. Select all from album where year released is equal to 2000. And notice how I'm putting this clause, this subclause, inside of parentheses. So where year released is equal to 2000 and artist underscore ID is equal to 1. And then semicolon. And see, I like to put it on separate lines because it makes it much more readable. Helps you to identify, you want to check and make sure that everything is typed in correctly. I hit enter, and there I have Mama's Gun, because there were 2 albums that were released in 2000, like Water for Chocolate and Mama's Gun, but only one of them has an artist ID of 1. So there's a lot so far, okay? We looked at, we're not quite done. Yeah. So let's do the or clause, okay? Select all from album where year release is equal to 2000 or the band ID is equal to 4. Select all from album where year released is equal to 2000 or band underscore ID is equal to, let's say, 4. Let me fix that up before I wonder what happened. So select all from album where year release is equal to 2000 or band ID is equal to 4. I hit enter. And here we have 3 albums. We have ABC because it has a band ID of 4. And we have Like Water for Chocolate, Mama's Gun, because those albums were released in the year 2000. So that's what the or clause is, because this unions, and this goes back to like what we learned in JavaScript with the and the or. Remember, with and, both of these conditions must evaluate to true. And with or, either of the clauses need to be true. Either one can be true for the data to be retrieved. So far we've looked at select, from, where, and or. You'll do well by tinkering with that for a little bit before you move on. For me, I know when I first learned MySQL, that was kind of, I had to sit there with those clauses, just kind of play around and just get the data I want for me to really understand what was happening and why it was happening the way that it was. So, you don't have to rush through these videos. You can put them in slow-mo. You can pause them at any time. You can go back and watch them again. And after we get done with the video, play with the material some more. The reason why I like to do it this way is that I'm not just sitting here teaching or just lecturing about this, but actually building this stuff, okay, at the same time doing it live, so that you can have an opportunity to mess around with the information and break things a little bit before you move on to the next lesson. So we're going to stop here with this lesson, and then after that, the next thing we're going to do looks like wildcards and what that does, how we filter through the data and retrieve data based on the wildcards. So that's going to be the second part of retrieve uh, that we're doing. But play with this for what you have right now with the four tables, with the select, from, where, and an or. And then after that, we'll get back into the next set of videos.